I thought it might be fun to share a series of videos reading sections of my booklet and maybe giving a backstory as to why I've included certain things. So for a start, I've called it Introducing the Runes because I don't think any book can ever completely share the runes. I think we need to reach out to a broad range of resources and also take the time to personally reflect on what sits with us. So I can never define the runes as such. So what I'm going to do is read out various sections and then maybe reflect on why I chose to include it. The Younger Futhark, that's really important. These are the Scandinavian runes rather than the Elder Futhark, which are the Germanic runes. And we've reconstructed the information, the sounds, the names in Proto-Germanic, so how we feel they may have been used by our ancestors. This booklet reflects my understanding of the runes, built over more than 20 years of study and practice. It is not a definitive guide. Think of it as a field guide to how I personally get results. So I am an academic because I love researching the runes, but I am not academic enough to teach the history of the runes. I leave that to people with far more information on that than myself. As a rune reader and a Norse shaman, I use the runes to create understanding and change in both my lives and my clients' lives. So this is more of a how to use the runes rather than looking at their historical roots. I came to the runes in 1999 when I moved to Orkney to learn from my teacher and found my path through the 16 runes of the Younger Futhark. Since then, they have become a constant companion in readings, healing work, shamanic journeying, and everyday life. Curiously, my eldest son was born in Orkney, and he is at this moment en route to Orkney to revisit his birthplace, which is quite interesting. So I really thought about what did I want to include in this booklet. I've included what are the runes, how to use this book, how to do a rune reading, glossary. I go into each of the 16 runes in depth, and then I look at rune magic, bind runes, rune magic, sound and form, and further reading. So what are the runes? Runes were the written alphabet of the Norse and Germanic peoples, carved into stone, wood and bone across northern Europe. But a rune is more than a letter or a symbol. It is a blueprint of energy. Together the runes create a living pattern to help understand both the universe and individuals. Most people come to runes through the Elder Futhark, 24 runes widely used in modern sets and popular culture. This is a valid path, but the Elder Futhark largely fell out of use before the Viking Age began, and much of what we know about it has been carefully reconstructed from fragmentary evidence. The Younger Futhark is different. These 16 runes were used throughout the Viking era. We have the rune poems, the charms in the Havamal, and inscriptions carved across Scandinavia. These runes were lived with through to the medieval ages. I also love their shape. Every single one carries a central vertical line, the axis mundi, the connection between earth and sky. The axis mundi is a powerful magical tool, making these runes easier to embody and use as a shamanic tool. There is no right set of runes, only the one you are willing to sit with long enough to truly know. So if you are deeply embedded with the Elder Futhark, if you are using them and they work for you, then you are using them right. I truly believe in a gnostic path with the runes. In other words, they need to work for you. I know that a lot of people disagree with some of my writings on the runes, and I am quite comfortable with that. I am not here to change anybody's mind. I'm just here to share what works for me. And I hope that you reflect on it and use it to adjust your understanding of the runes to make sure that they work for you to the best possible value. I do not believe there is one singular way to work with or understand the runes. And of course, if you are working with the Elder Futhark, well, the understandings that you are using were predominantly extracted from the meanings of the Younger Futhark. So understanding the Younger Futhark will deepen your understanding of the Elder Futhark. You don't need to throw out something that's working for you. How to use this book? You can, of course, read the book from cover to cover. I've tried to create a narrative flow that is easy to read. A great way to start is by using a rune for personal reflection or reading the runes for intuitive guidance. You may have purchased one of my rune decks or have a Younger Futhark rune set, or you can simply create your own, writing the runes on pieces of cards. I will never forget a very good friend of mine who has been working with the runes slightly longer than me, which is incredibly annoying. He came to visit and I said, oh, great, can I have a rune reading? And he'd forgotten his rune set. How annoying is that? So what he did was he took a Sharpie and a piece of paper, wrote down the runes, tore them up, put them in a sandwich box, and proceeded to give me one of the most empowering and intuitive rune readings I've ever received. So although I think it is lovely to have a carefully crafted rune set from stone or wood that is important to you, it's a beautiful thing to own. I also don't think you need it. The magic is not in the rune set, it's in you. So it is nice to have a beautiful rune set. It is a wonderful thing to own, but you don't need it if you want to work with the runes. So you can pull a rune. This is when you sit with your bag or deck of runes and allow your intuitive self to choose the rune most suited to you. And of course, you can consciously choose a rune. This is when you look through the meanings and decide which rune would best support you. Both are valid ways of deciding which rune to be inspired by or connect with. Mix and match them as best suits you. So find one rune intuitively or consciously, and then you could intuitively sit with its meaning. Just look at it. See if anything comes to you, and it's just fine if nothing does. Then read through my reflections and journal on what feels important to you. Perhaps research the deity linked to the rune. Read more widely about the rune. Explore the sound and form of the rune to really experience it through your body. Sleep with the rune under your pillow and journal any dreams you may have had. For many years, I've focused on deep diving a rune a month, researching, meditating, having the rune on my desk, seeing how my life reflected the meaning of the rune. I'm sure I focus on each of the 16 runes. It's too easy to get distracted by those I like more. I mean, this month in August, I am focusing and teaching on the rune Laug, which represents water. I hadn't consciously worked it out, but the first weekend of August saw me solo camping at a campsite right on the beach. I've never done that before. It was just one of those random things where I saw it when I was browsing campsites and thought, gosh, I could do that just for a weekend. And it was when I was sat on the beach and I was thinking, oh yeah, this month I'm connecting with Laug. So, choosing a rune a month can be really powerful. But obviously remember that perhaps, in a Loki month, you might expect a bit more chaos. So you will often feel the sense of the rune weaving through the month. I started doing this when I was teaching a weekend retreat, and I was co-hosting it with a friend, and we had all 16 runes out on a table. I had some students with me that have been working with me for 7, 8, 9 years shamanically. And my friend started going through the runes and asking, which runes does Maddie teach and which does she not? And it was shocking that I didn't teach my absolute favourites, and I didn't teach those that I am less comfortable with. I'd kept with a very core group of runes. And it made me realise that I want to work with the runes in a more methodical way. And I have been doing that now for 7 or 8 years, I think. And one thing that you can do, just reaching over for my rune set, is, you can choose the rune. Let's choose the Marn rune. Let's choose Freya. You can choose the rune that you feel really drawn to. And remember that the actual shape itself is really important. So leaving this rune out where you can see it, maybe by your kettle, in the kitchen, maybe on your desk, maybe on your mantelpiece, maybe even having it as a screensaver on your phone or your laptop, to keep looking at the image. It will stir intuitive or archetypal memories. If you prefer, you can try the more classic 3-rune reading, learning the runes as you read them. The book guides you through this process step by step. Or you may prefer to learn them through embodying, experiencing, doing. In which case you can head to my sound and form section to explore how you can experience each rune through sound and movement. If creativity is your thing, you might like the bind rune section. You can be as artistic as you like with bind runes, adding colour, images, exploring how runes come alive through your art. Hopefully you'll have a go at all of these things. Simply start wherever you feel most drawn. And so if you have a skill set or something that you love doing, if you love being in nature, then the book lists a tree for each of the runes. Go and sit with the tree. Look at how we use that tree for medicine or for tools. Is it good to burn? Is it good to build with? If you're creative, explore the stories. Maybe draw some pictures to understand the stories. I want to give you the permission to work with the runes in the way that best suits you. So the next section is how to do a rune reading and how to read each rune with some sample readings. So I'll be sharing that in the next video.